cold at the touch, dead in the eyes, no signs of life no more. I put your love under the knife. Leave me to die here all alone. No signs of life no more, no. But crying dove may never fly. Black and white. Black and white. Oh, oh. Oh, oh. Just black and white. Just let me go, it's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. Just let me go, it's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Black and white. Black and white. Oh, oh. Oh, oh. It's black and white. Black and white.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Sim Grid and another night here on Assetto Corsa Competizione, and we are here for the More Female Racers Series here from Misano, a legendary circuit and a wonderful one at that. Very technical track for these drivers to get their hand on this evening. I'm Chaz Draycott. Alongside me in the commentary box once again is the fantastic Connell Courtney, and Kyle Lawrence as well. Kyle, start with you, mate. This circuit is more familiar to you guys than it is to me, but what do you make of this place?
Oh, it's definitely one of my favorites on the ACC platform. A lot of fast-flowing corners leading into a little bit of technical sections, if I can put it that way. So a lot of braking while turning, which is something GT3 cars aren't favored of. But these GT4 cars do tend to manage that a little bit better than most. But it is a tricky circuit to come to grips with, to be fast on. But and also track limitations are a major problem here for most drivers, especially over a long-distance race. You only get 3 warnings, as we see a bit of track limitations taken there with Andy the Lab. But it does create a bit of issues. Three warnings and then a drive-through.
Yeah, it's well, we had a comment actually on the YouTube stream saying, "I hope you all enjoy the race," or as some of us are referring to it as the battle of the track limit warnings. Connell, you of course know this circuit for the main reason, the motorcycling background, if that's what they call it. I've probably just butchered that for you, sorry mate. But you know just how much of a party it can be around this track on bikes. What do you reckon it's going to be like on 4 wheels?
Yeah, much the same, if not a little more, although we don't have the yellow army that we do in the bikes. As we were alluding to, we were talking actually off air, and Kyle brought it up. The track limit is going to be very, very crucial. Something I don't think that these drivers really had too much experience or too much problem with the Nurburgring, because anytime you were going exceeding track limits, you were pretty much in the gravel at the Nurburgring, bar a few corners. Hungaroring provided a little bit more of a challenge in terms of managing the track limits. This will be possibly their toughest test out of all the calendar in managing those track limit warnings. So again, it's great that the SimGrid in this series focused really primarily on learning and bringing these women into the sport and developing their abilities. It really is a good progression path to get to this track.
Yeah, that's it. And from, like you say, from the circuits we've seen so far, there is quite a difference in terms of how technical they are. So, yeah, the sort of progression is going to be strong to see tonight. I think this is one of those tracks that will really bring that out. Just very quickly, though, we're going to have a quick look at a hot lap in the Aston Martin V8 Vantage GT4 from here in Misano. And it's going to be driven by none other than James Parker. So coming down the straight here then, we do have the background noise from the sim still going on as well, so bear with me 1 second. There we go. Through the right and the left, then the first 2 corners very difficult in these GT4 cars. You really need to get them settled. Plenty of curb on the right-hand side there. It's like a double apex right-hander through turn 3. Straighten the car up, get it settled onto the brakes. The track dips down a little bit here into the second of the tight right-handers on the track. Another double apex. Get the car over to the right as soon as you can to line it up, to fling it over to the left-hand side. Straighten it up and crack on. Long time on the throttle down here in these GT4 cars, and it gives you more chance to get the car settled again. You're turning while braking into this tight left-hander, so you need to be very careful, and you're still turning on exit as well, so when you get off the brakes and onto the throttle, you may see some of the drivers spin the car there. Another braking zone here into the right-hander where you are braking and turning again, and the same again. You're on the throttle on the exit while you're still turning. Long straight once again. And as you can see, you've got some pretty quick corners, some pretty slow corners, and some long waiting times before these braking zones. Through the right kink, it's going to be flat out here in these cars. Through another right kink, probably the hardest corner on the circuit here. James really holding his nerve there around that part. Again, onto the brakes, hard into the right-hander. And they've just got 1 more corner to go, and before you know it, this lap actually does flow very well and gets it all delivered. Sorry, 2 corners to go. It is 2 left-handers here. I always get that bit confused. Onto the brakes again. The camber comes with you a little bit on the inside of the left-hander there. Let it run wide on the curb, and across the line you go. And that is a hot lap with James Parker in the Aston Martin V8 Vantage GT4, which we can see here in the hands of Danny Erdmann at the moment, in number 26. But like we've been saying, Kyle, it's not the easiest of circuits, is it? It really is not. Apologies about that there. I didn't cut the the actual audio back in there. Sorry, everybody. I didn't cross the audio back over from the video to Kyle's great analysis there, which we just missed. Sorry, mate. We have a couple of teams missing this evening. GG Motorsport, Elaine Gerber and Dominic Goetz, or Goltz. Sidemax More Female Racers, which is Elizabeth Chan and Niels van der Kokelp. Then Mad Sci-Fi Racing, which is Jess Martin and Sarah Johnson. Now, Jess and Sarah have been right up there in the pecking order in this championship so far. And 3D Wrap, whose logo you will see in the top right, the sponsors for this series, are giving away a Pikes sequential shifter to the main driver with the most pole positions. Now, Jessica Martin currently has 2 positions, but as just said, Connell, their whole team is missing tonight, so they could have wrapped it up here, but it looks like they're not going to.
Yeah, opportunity for everyone now, and I wouldn't mind getting my hands on that shifter. Unfortunately, I'm not quick enough to get pole position in the series, so yeah, I would have no hope. But a lot of opportunity for these drivers here to take advantage. And really, I mean, if whoever gets pole here at Misano is the only one who can challenge Martin for that prize, and what a great prize it is. But we were talking about track limits, and look at this pit lane. It is a long pit exit here at Misano. Really long time that you're sitting on the limiter. Now you get to be released. So yeah, it does look, of course, it's a short start finish straight, but the pit exit in terms of the time you're on the limiter is very long in comparison to the straight itself. So with that being said, and track limits being so crucial, drive-throughs could be really devastating around here.
They certainly could. And, well, just from what we were mentioning before on this one, Kyle, the drivers do know that as well, and they're going to have to be very careful about that this evening, aren't they?
Yeah, again, I did touch on it when I was unfortunately muted, but like I said, the circuit originally designed to go one direction is now going the other. So instead of everything opening up on you, it tightens up on you. So getting on the throttle that little bit too early, not giving it enough steering input going in, small little mistake, and you're running all 4 wheels over the white line and giving yourself either a warning for track limitations or 3 warnings, and you give yourself a drive-through. That's going to really change the race with already a pit stop in the race. And like Connell said, the long pit lane and the long time sitting on the pit limiter, it's going to be an absolute disaster if that happens to you.
Yeah, that's it. And it's another one of those instances where a race evening can just go one way or the other very, very quickly. And just coming back to you, Connell, we've got some pretty close times at the moment, haven't we? If you could just run us through the order.
Yeah, and it's a point that we were actually making. We were able to see free practice. And we were talking, Michael, who is on hand, he's our pit lane reporter. He won't be able to hear him, but he was chatting away to us before we started broadcasting. Was just making a note of a couple of people that were actually, I mean, at least 10 seconds off the times of the fast drivers in the Nurburgring. And then all of a sudden they're within a couple of seconds. So it really does show the rate of improvement. Unfortunately, I can't actually see the times at the minute of the gap, Chaz. So
apologies, mate.
I can't run down the order.
Sorry, buddy. I did downscale the feed that these guys get because we have had a couple of issues before from my PC's side, which is loads of fun. But it's Denise Pope in the number 79 Porsche for Wild Things at the moment that is top of the pile, and it's Christine Salt in the McLaren. Good to see those two up there. Danny Erdman in the pits at the moment, but the Aston Martin is in 3rd place. Marion Edwards in 4th, the Canadian driver for Edison Genius Racing Bulbs. Then it's Kerry Mitchell in the number 5, in P5, in the number 789 KTM Crossbow Amazon box, whatever you want to call it. Andy the Lab 6th. Andy's had a bit of a tough season so far, so good to see Andy up there in the Aston Martin. Josie Austin, always good to speak to, for GZR Team Cake in a different livery this week by the look of it. Normally that car is silver and gold, isn't it, Kyle? But they've adopted a different one this time around, just to confuse us.
Just to change it up so we couldn't find them on track. Yeah, I was just about to say that as well. But we had to see everybody running so close together in qualifying. Normally in qualifying you like to find yourself a bit of free room. But, Orson deciding no, to rather have a chaser in front, the rabbit to chase. And if you look, there's just a gaggle of cars in front of there as well. So a big group here setting themselves up to get some good quality laps, but they're just going to end up tripping over each other as I say that, they do that as well. So Josie realizing that it's just not going to work out to get a fire lap and backing out of it. But nice to see you talking about progression. Nell all the way up in 12th place, so mid-pack, just outside of mid-pack from right at the back of the grid in the previous round.
Yeah, and it does come back to the development of these drivers over the course of the season. You know, the more experience you can get in these cars. That's Alice Horton just going past the Porsche there of Marin Edwards. And Alice has been one of those drivers for Speed Kitty that's been really quick. And, of course, on the receiving end of the contact last time out at the Hungaroring, Connell. So it's all about trying to recover from that incident now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the eyes will be darting left and right everywhere she goes now. A little bit of paranoia is what happens when you get unfortunately tangled in someone else's incident. But yeah, Alice has been one of the top three we've seen. Martin, Austin, and Horton, the drivers in the first stint, shall we say, really have been the class act of the past 2 rounds. We've had D'Andrade just a little bit off the pace in the Ginetta in comparison. As we see, a little bit of holding up there. That is Alice Horton getting her lap ruined there. So, but 9 minutes to go. It is, as you were saying, Chaz, in the onboard lap, a relatively short lap, 1 minute 44 currently. So plenty of laps to make an effort. And I suppose, I mean, Chaz, if you're learning a track for the first time, especially when it comes to qualifying session, is it worthwhile just fueling the car for 15 minutes and just doing lap after lap? Yeah,
that's it. I mean, we've all been there where we've ended up on a sim, or even in just a game as well from earlier on in life. I actually used to race this circuit on one of the old Superbike games back on PlayStation 2 years and years ago, and I could never get my hand on this track because it's such a difficult one to get right. But we've all been there in terms of learning a circuit that we don't quite know like the back of our hands. Some of us know other circuits off by heart, like, you know, more popular circuits like Silverstone or Suzuka that are a bit more common on the international stage. But Misano, like you say, it's not always the one of the first tracks that spring to mind. I mean, in Italy, of course, you've got the likes of Monza, Mugello as well. I mean, even people mention the Fiorano test track as well sometimes before you hear them say Misano. But this is a really, really strong circuit for a lot of these cars, to be honest. And the GT4 cars do get on well. We've got 2 of the McLarens here right together. This is Alana De Potter in the number 3, and the number 180 of Christine Salt. And what a fantastic save! Oh my god, that was incredible. Absolutely incredible by Christine there on that one, Kyle.
That was phenomenal. I couldn't believe it. Actually looks like they were doing a tandem drift there for a second. I thought I was watching the wrong game. I was like, hang on, I'm watching the wrong stream. Let me go back to what we should be looking at. That was brilliant. Great driving there. But I'm not sure why everybody's running so close together in quali.
Yeah,
you know, rather let the driver go and get a tow and try and get yourself into a better position. I mean, Alana still goes up to 11th after all that contact, or now down to 12th. But you know, it's always better just to give yourself a bit of free room and go from there, especially with 7 minutes left to go.
Yeah, it's sometimes I think it's just down to the pace difference. A lot of these drivers do have quite a bit of pace between them. I mean, 6 seconds from 1st to 15th at the moment. I know that includes Christine Salt, who of course we just saw getting turned then, so didn't get a chance to improve on her time. But a few little updates from behind the scenes. GZR Team Cake, which is the Josie Austin car, has 2 wins out of 2. MIA Esports, which is Ava D'Andrade and Seb Handler, have finished P2 in both races so far. They're second and fourth on the grid. Thank you, Josie, for proving me wrong instantly. Lauren Jubb has a new teammate for this evening and for the rest of the season. Her previous teammate had to withdraw, so she now has Brett Madsen in that team with her. And then Tilana Nell in the BMW M4 has Jens Kaiser joining her in what we've described as the touring car, Connell. It certainly stands out, but the Raspberries, as they're called in their team name, have been doing all right, to be fair, haven't they? It's not the easiest car to get used to when you've not got much experience in the sim.
Yeah, it's a chunky boy, that thing. Awesome livery too. But yeah, Tilana doing business, not getting involved in touching wood right now, as I say, but not getting involved in too many incidents. Hopefully I haven't commentators cursed her, but yeah, just keeping her nose clean, just doing the laps, and that's really all you need to progress. Of course, rates of progression, rates of learning are different per driver, and we're actually seeing it. I mean, there was 10 seconds, even a little bit more, separating first to last in Nurburgring, 7.5 last time out at the Hungaroring, and now we're at 6.2, and we're seeing times between drivers being a lot closer together. So it really is great to see, and it's what we've been saying all season, really, that throughout these races, as the more and more experience these women get, the closer these times will become, and it's really, thankfully, proven us right. I mean, we only have 1.8 covering the top 11.
Yeah, it's incredibly close, to be fair. It's interesting to see how it develops each round, and I think if we do get another season of this, it's going to be even more exciting to watch. And we've only got 4.5 minutes to go now. At the moment, Josie Austin has moved the Team Cake Aston Martin to the top of the standings. We've got 3 Aston Martins in the top 4 here. Alice Horton is second at the moment at number 25. Ana Luisa Belo is making it work for the Mercedes at the moment in third. Then it's Gemma Moore in fourth, and then Denise Pope in fifth. And just talk to me about these Porsches, Kyle, because they've always been there or thereabouts in this season so far, but we've not had many front-running performances out of them.
It does seem like a bit of a tongue tie, that one.
Yeah.
No, it does. It's a difficult car to get right, but when you do get it right, it is quick. But what we have seen in the GT4s, James Parker, a big fan of the Porsche, and what we watched in the GT4 launch night with him is that the car is very quick in terms of lap time, but in terms of race pace, it does struggle to get past the cars in front of it. It doesn't seem to have the top end that everybody else in the GT4 class has. So it struggles to get any passes done, and it is a difficult car to race. It's also just as wily as its GT3 counterpart. I mean, the back end is very free on it, and it is a difficult car to get right. But once you get it right, it is fast. So I think that's probably why. I mean, this is more of an introductory series than what we're used to seeing. A lot of these drivers is their first time out on ACC or first time out in sim racing. But so it wouldn't really be a popular choice in my mind.
Yeah, and I suppose it comes down to one of the main aspects that people say they love about the fact that Porsches have the engine so far back is it really balances the weight well and it turns it into a driver's car. But when you sort of start messing with that balance and turn it into a race car, put a lot of front downforce on it and a big rear wing as well just to help that, it can overdo it a little bit. And like you say, the back end can be, I like the word you used to describe it as free. A little bit free on the rear end rather than loose. But you're right though, and it does make them very lively. But yeah, it just takes the right pair of hands to get this car working. Denise Pope is the highest placed Porsche at the moment. Verena May is 9th at the moment. Her teammate, I believe, Gregor Schill. Yes, Gregor Schill in the 718 GT4 Club Sport. But there's quite an even spread of cars at the moment. Kerry Mitchell still out on track in the Crossbow. And this is another one of those cars, isn't it, Connell? I mean, we've spoken about it every round so far, but it's it just gets the job done and sticks in the mid-pack at the moment. But we know that it's not the quickest car, so it's interesting to see that Kerry and her teammate can still make it competitive.
Yeah, and sometimes when you're driving a car that isn't the most competitive or isn't the strongest in the field, as we see Kerry getting very close the rear end of McLaren and loses it. Yeah, that just really goes to show the problems that they've been having in the KTM. But sometimes when you're in a car that isn't as strong as the others, it makes you drive better and drive to a better capability, so that when you get to the point where you get in a better car, you're actually a better driver. We've seen many drivers sort of throughout motorsport history overdriving a car that isn't quite up to spec, and once they get into a car that is competitive, they really do take off and fly. So yeah, it might be not a great thing for this series in particular for Kerry Mitchell and her teammate, but in the long run it could be very beneficial for them.
Yeah, that's it. You need to with a series like this where they're longer races and where you go into circuits that are so different from one another, you need to consider the fact that you can't just go for a car that's fast in a straight line or the car that handles the best. You need to try and figure out which is the best all-rounder that you can get your head around, basically. And I think Kerry and her teammate have decided that the KTM's probably the car to go for. It's not too hard to drive. Apparently it's very stable, but it depends who you ask, I think, by the sounds of it. The Aston, though, you know, much like the Porsche and the GT3s, the Aston seems like the car to be in. It's the most common in the series at the moment. This is Thea Musanti, Alethea Book. Changed the livery once again. This car was black and pink. Now just fully pink, the number 66 machine. 8th at the moment, but it looks like Alethea at the moment. Oh, other than that apex there, which she needs a taxi to get to, was absolutely on it then. Be interesting to see if she goes further up the board. The session is now over. That's the final lap, and it is not an improvement, Kyle. And you've got to think, does it come down to that last corner?
No, most definitely does. That last corner is so crucial for the lap. And the problem is with that last corner, you run just slightly wide, and it doesn't validate your lap as well. So it's so crucial to get that right, to get onto that inside apex, because of the way it cambers. The camber towards you is only for the first half of the circuit. So if you miss your turn in by half a meter, less than that, you're going to miss the apex, miss the camber, not be able to get on the power and drive it out. So unfortunately, throwing the lap away there. But it's been an interesting qualifying. It's nice to see the times so much closer together than what we witnessed in the previous round.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, one driver that needs a bit of a shout out is Ana Luisa Bello in the Mercedes. She's only 0.003 of a second off Ava, just ahead of her there. And before now, she's only qualified 8th on the grid. And when she did that, she was 2 seconds and 3.2 seconds off the pace, respectively. Thank you very much for the information, by the way, Michael, in the background, who is giving us all of this. But yeah, the pace difference is phenomenal. But Alice Horton has got the job done in this qualifying session in the Aston Martin for Speed Kitty. And then Josie Austin will be alongside on the front row. And, well, not that I'm going to be biased in any way, Connell, but I'm quite excited to see how that Ginetta gets on again. We've got 2 P2 finishes from that car so far. Can they take it one step further and go for a win?
Yeah, well, of course, we've seen in the first few races, of course, we've seen Martin getting pole position. So if we're speaking hypotheticals, you would suspect Martin would be on pole position again, followed by Horton, Austin, and D'Andrade. So that would follow suit as to what we have seen in the first 2 rounds. But that Luisa Bello making a huge stride forward. I'm really impressed with her improvement throughout this race, or throughout this series. So very interesting, of course. D'Andrade, will she be able to hold on? We've seen Horton and Austin get into a big battle before, and really hold each other up. So will D'Andrade be able to stick with them? And that will be crucial to their chances of a race victory this day, because Seb Handler has had to do a mountain of work to try and catch the leaders, about 8 or 9 seconds off by the time he gets in the car, and it's just leaving him with too little time to make up such a big gap to drivers of that quality. So it's going to be important for D'Andrade now. I mean, again, she's done her job brilliantly though for the past 2 races, because she's drove to her limits. She hasn't drove over the limits catching or trying to catch Horton and Austin. So she drove to her limits and stayed consistent, and left Seb with a 3rd position to then hunt down the leaders. So hopefully she'll be able to stay with the front 2. But I mean, it's better to be fighting for a P3 than it is to be in the tire wall.
Yeah, well, yeah. To be honest, I agree with that. Yeah, I'd rather be in P3 than in a tyre wall. To be honest, I think Kyle can agree with that one as well. What we're going to do, everybody, we're just going to grab you a couple of quick adverts just while the formation lap gets ready to get underway. We, of course, do have a partnership with Thrustmaster and Coach Dave Academy as well, so thank you to them for sponsoring the event and doing everything that they do. If you just bear with us 2 moments, we'll just crack the adverts on and be right back. And there you go. So the formation lap is underway then. We'll run you through the grid. Alice Horton takes pole position in the Aston Martin. And alongside her is Josie Austin, also in an Aston Martin. Ava D'Andrade, third on the grid. Now I've finally figured out how to say her name right. Thank you, Connell. Anna Luisa Bello is fourth in the Mercedes. Those two doing very well and being right up there so far this season. Denise Pope is fifth with Gemma Moore just behind in sixth. Then it's Sarah Moore in seventh. Those two are completely inseparable on track, it seems. Alethea Book is in eighth place with Lauren Jubb just behind in ninth. And rounding out your top 10 is Verena May, teammate of Gregor Schill. We then have the KTM crossbow of KM, Kerry Mitchell. Alana Day Potter is in the McLaren in 12th with Marin Edwards in 13th place in the number 587 Porsche. Then we have Andy the Lab in the very bright pink Aston Martin, two of the very bright pink Aston Martins on the field. And it's Talana Nell in the BMW, Christine Salt and Emma Richards at the back of the field in another Aston Martin. Now, talk to me here, Kyle. Speed Kitty, Alice Horton's been very quick. We saw that she was right up there for the Hungaroring, but very quickly, do you think she can get this done today with the absence of the mad car?
I think my main question is the how far D'Andrade has progressed over the last two rounds, and if that progression has continued. Because if that progression continued, it's going to be an interesting race to the front with Seb Handler climbing into that car, and I think that's what Horton and the rest need to consider. We've seen how quickly that number 3 Janetta, the third place Janetta, the number 12 there, can get onto pace after the pit stop. So that's what needs to be considered. There are two drivers in each car, and we have seen the pace difference between them. So if Alice Horton can get away and build a big enough gap on the two behind, I think, yeah, definitely it's without our regular winners involved. I definitely think they stand a good chance.
Well, we shall soon find out, shan't we, everybody? They come around the final couple of corners now then. It's a 1 hour race, mandatory pit stop with a pit window in the middle of the race, where they must change drivers. And we've seen that has caught some of these teams out before. And the driver change was not done into the pit window and they were excluded from the results. But it's Alice Horton and Josie Austin on the front row of the grid. Josie Austin and her teammate have won both races so far this season. That's Jasmine Akiko in the number 137 car on the right hand side of your shot. So they come around the final corner then. They're going to creep all the way up to the line. Look out for the Mercedes as well. Ana Luisa Bello is holding back there. I'm not sure whether that's going to be above board. The green light is on and they're away. And the field sprints down the straight, and Ana Luisa Bello has really lost out there actually, because down the inside Denise Pope is going to go through as well into turn 1. Do we see any shenanigans? No, everybody seems to be playing it safe. A little bit of contact there, and I think Gemma Moore is around, and that's the second time in 2 weeks, Connell, that Sarah and Gemma Moore have made contact.
Yeah, I mean, what do you say to that there? It'll be very uncomfortable in that household, but Alice Horton did exactly what she needed to do. But very crucially, I mean, we've seen Luisa Bello get a pretty sluggish and hang back quite deep, but she went round the outside of D'Andrade and has got herself into third position. So a very impressive first few corners for Luisa Bello.
As Josie Austin dives down the inside into the left-hander, but goes a bit deep there. Alice Horton gets it sorted on the apex, but like you say, great stuff from the Mercedes of Bello. But a pretty tidy first lap so far here, Kyle. I mean, I'm going to touch wood because we don't want to jinx it, but you think that as they go more and more into this championship and obviously hoping towards a second season, things are just going to get more and more clean as it goes on, and it certainly seems that way at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's just time behind the wheel. Any motorsports or big look there from the Mercedes-Benz of Luisa Bello trying to get past, or did she get past? No, looking for a way past on Austin there as they head into this tricky right-hand section. The Merc is very good around the back end of the circuit. It does have a lot of top end. But as we see these guys, these girls spend more time in the cars, and seat time is the magic word here. Spend more time behind the wheel and you will find more pace. So it looks like they're getting more settled in. Turn 1 was very neat and tidy for them. I was very impressed with how they did it. I mean, we've seen some very untidy turn 1s in the past, but nice to see them all packed up as well. We saw quite a big split already after the first lap in round 1, and that has gone away here in round 3. They're all over each other on the first lap.
They are indeed, and this is Alana Day Potter from the team named We Will Think About It, with Verena May right behind there in the number 335 Porsche. Then Christine Salt rounds out your top 10. Alethea Book is just making a bit of time ahead of these two drivers in the Aston Martin there in 7th place. The KTM Crossbow just at the back of your shot. But it's Alice Horton as Alana De Potter goes a bit wide through the double right-hander there. Flicks the car to the left. Seems that she hasn't lost too much time to Verena May, and it looks actually like Christine Salt is on the attack, running wide though. But all this time, Alice Horton is, well, I was going to say, trying to stretch her legs at the front of this field and open up the advantage, but no. Josie Austin says, not on your life. I tried it last time, went a bit too deep on the apex. This time, I'm going to get it right. Although, Alice shows her nose again and says, I'm not going away that easily, Josie, don't you worry. Anna Luisa Belos sat in the background there thinking, oh, I'll fancy a bit of this as well, to be honest, if it all goes downhill. But yeah, great racing already. And Josie knows, doesn't she, Connell, that she needs to get this done ASAP and crack on with it.
Yeah, absolutely. She's left her teammate Akiko with quite a good track position in the past few rounds, and she would love to do nothing more than to do it 3 in a row. But yeah, I'm really actually impressed with Josie Austin there. She made a big mistake into the hairpin on lap 1, and made that mistake and let Horton back through. But she repeated the move at the same part of the track, and that to me just shows that she understood what she did wrong, where she went wrong, and corrected it straight away, and didn't have the fear or any panic to actually make that pass again at the same spot. So yeah, very impressive. But speaking of impressive, I mean, Luisa Bello has just turned an absolute corner here, and this is what we were saying. It's not going to be a gradual, there's not going to be a consistent progression path here in this learn, as we've seen Dean Andrade defend from Sarah Moore as well. Dean Andrade, really shockingly enough, might be relegated to 5th. We had possibly the Janetta down for a race win, but under pressure now from Moore, Pope and Althea Bouquet, of course, following these guys up in 7th. But yeah, we were saying earlier in the series, the rate of progression isn't consistent. There's no chart that will say, right, when you get to your 3rd race, you're going to be X amount of time faster. It really just happens, and you hit that brick wall, and then all of a sudden you click however many laps later, and we're seeing that with Bella.
Yeah, definitely. There's a real light bulb moment, isn't there? And I mean, Sarah Moore now all over the back of Andrade. Very close. All this time, Josie Austin will be laughing all the way to the bank to try and extend that lead ever further. But Sarah Moore, for Taste the Rainbow, is all over the back of Ava here in that Ginetta. Still can't get it done, although Ava's gone deep there. Sarah's going to try and get the cut back. It works. She needs to leave room for Ava to come back on the circuit. She does just about. And gets it done down the inside. Beautiful stuff. And I'm wondering now. Yeah, there's Denise Pope is just in there as well, trying to go around the outside of Ava onto the brakes. How many YouTube accounts do you have, Josh Martin? As well, that's good defending, to be fair, there from Ava on that one, Kyle, because she could have let Denise go through and then try and make the move back again later in the lap, but she thought, nah, I'm not going to let any chance go by here. I need to get that back straight away.
Yeah, I've been watching that whole lap from Andrade and watching her defensive tactics. She's very good at the last late move in the braking zone, just to deter the driver behind from having a look down. She did it for most of the lap with Moore behind her, but obviously Moore got the run on the cutback. Great little cutback there. She learned the little bob and weave from Andrade, sold her the dummy and went down the inside of the cutback. So some great racing from all these ladies, and it's interesting to see, like you said, we keep talking about it, we keep touching on it, the development of all these drivers as they head through. But it's also interesting to see Misano does bring out the benefits and the pros and cons of each car as we look at Vereen having a look down the inside there on that McLaren. A little bit of contact there, but unfortunately they all get through it unscathed. But this circuit does show the pros and cons of each manufacturer quite well, and we can see here the Porsche's acceleration just getting the better of the McLaren behind it there.
Yeah, both the black and purple machines there. Verena May just getting the better of Christine Salt for that position, just inside the top 10 there in 9th place. Splits 2 of the McLarens up. The other McLaren is Lauren Jubb. A little bit further down the order, she was only half a second off the back of Andy Labb last time they went across any of the sector times. Emma Richards is 16th. Gemma Moore, unfortunately, still in the pits in that Aston Martin. This Aston Martin is definitely not in the pits though. Josie Austin leading the way, and we've got a 15-second penalty for Sarah Moore because of said contact with Gemma Moore. Surely that must be what it's for there, Connell, because it seemed avoidable. She just didn't get on the brakes in time, and that tiny tap has, well, there's no other way of saying it, it's ruined Gemma Moore's race.
Yeah, it really is unfortunate. It's a tricky first few corners here at Misano. It really does narrow up through that sector, and there really is one fast line through there. Of course, you can try a cutback, you can try going around the outside, as we've seen Luisa Bello do. But yeah, very unfortunate. Just one of those things. Recent incident, of course, Sarah Moore has to take the blame for that and takes the penalty, and rightly so. Good for D'Andrade, sort of dodging a bullet there. One of the cars that, let's say, she might not have expected to catch her, to be ahead of her, is now she now has to stay within 15 seconds of it to jump her in the positions. While that is, of course, if D'Andrade does not herself get a penalty. But Sarah Moore is actually closing on Alice Horton, and Alice Horton is in a battle here with Luisa Bello. Luisa Bello has passed Alice Horton and is now in second. So this is a fantastic drive from that team. Luisa Bello's team, 4th at the Nurburgring, 10th at the Hungaroring. So, I mean, this is obviously the best drive of this team so far.
Yeah, for sure. That Mercedes is going well. It's the only one in the field of the AMG GT GT4s. And it's an interesting looking car as well as the AMG. I think the GT3 car is such an aggressive car. The road car is quite pretty as well, but yeah, the GT4, I don't know, it just looks like a souped up road car really. A lot of these GT4 cars do look like genuine race cars, but I think this is the least race car looking one, other than that rear wing, I think. But still, Ana Luisa Bello is showing us that it certainly is a race car, and it goes really, really well. We've got Denise Pope, well, she was 0.6 of a second behind Andrade last time they checked, but it doesn't seem like that gap is staying that small for now. It's fluctuating. Same with Christine Salt. She's trying to chase down Verena May after that manoeuvre got completed earlier. But Verena is now onto the back of Alana Day Potter, trying to just keep the lap times consistent and chase it down. The McLaren gets a good run into the left-hander there. And talk to me about track limits here, Kyle, because we've discussed it briefly so far, but there's a lot of runoff area and a lot of big curbs here that you can take to your advantage, isn't there, as we see there. Big red painted areas, but you've got to still be careful you don't take the mick with it, haven't you?
The track is defined in the FIA rulebook as between the two white lines, so that is the definition of the track and the usable track you can use. The rule is if all 4 wheels cross the white line, you are abusing track limits. Certain curves do allow more than others, just to the certain parts of the circuit. But this track is very tricky. This is one of the trickiest sectors here. You can turn in too early, get yourself a warning for track limits. But this right-hander here is where a lot of the track limit violations happen. On the outside there, running in just a little bit too fast, trying to get the car settled down so you can brake hard for this right-hander. And you often have to catch the rear end and straighten the car up, and you just run all 4 wheels over the white line, and that is where you'll get your warning. But someone getting away with it quite well is Verena May on Elena Potter. A late move down the inside. I actually think there was more of avoiding the back end of the McLaren rather than riding into it. I don't think there was an actual idea to pass there, but that would have been a great move if Verena May pulled it off. But that's just dropped her back into the clutches of Assault behind her in the McLaren. Yeah,
that it would have been great, because Alana Day Potter, you could tell there, she had the awareness to try and get out of the way. She's got a 15-second penalty, has Verena May, interestingly enough. Not sure whether that is for track limits or maybe some contact earlier. There is a bit of damage to the front right of that Porsche, so we'll have to see what the situation is. But here's your race leader, Josie Austin. She is currently just under 4 seconds away from Ana Luisa Bello, and doing another fantastic job here for GZR Team Cake. Now, I'm not sure in terms of the championship whether they can get this wrapped up here this evening. I'll have to give Michael a poke and see whether he can do some maths for us and let us know. But if they can, Connell, in a 4-race series, to get it done in 3 races, that'd be an amazing feat, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And regardless of if they do actually get the championship wrapped up in this race, I mean, if the positions stay as they are with her closest challengers in the championship currently being 5th in this race so far, you'd have to say that it's pretty much almost a certainty for the next race that they can wrap it up. If they have a somewhat decent race, which so far they haven't put a wheel wrong, really, with 2 wins so far out of 2 and leading the 3rd race. But of course, we all know that anything can and will happen, especially as the championship pressure is on. So if you were leading the championship, realistically, you'd want to have it wrapped up instead of having it 90% wrapped up, because that 10% can always come back and bite you, as we've seen in many championships prior. As we see, we're getting a replay now of Alice Horton. She is still pressuring this rapidly improving Mercedes. And looking up the inside, does she get that passed on? No, she doesn't think that of it.
Yeah, I just noticed on the timing screen that she'd got within 0.2 of a second of the back of the Mercedes and then lost it again on the exit. So I didn't know whether she'd gone for a move a little bit more dramatically and then backed off from it. But no, in that case, she just lost it on the straight. Christine Salt is around. Something has happened to the McLaren. That is... Oh, what has gone on there? That is the Porsche of Marin Edwards. Marin's gone hard into the wall. Of course, we didn't see Marin there for a second. She's carried on. But I'm not sure. What do you think there, Kyle? Do you think Marin just lost it and just pitched over to the right? I mean, it looked like quite an aggressive turn to the right there to make the contact.
I mean, we were talking about how free the back end of this Porsche is, and it doesn't like curbs. So maybe just grabbing a little bit too much curb on the way in and on the previous left hand, and was trying to get it all collected around the right hand and just lost it into Salt there. But weird contact. Obviously, we didn't see the beginning of it, so difficult to make a judgment call. But that Porsche is going to be a little bit worse for wear. Salt hasn't lost all that many positions, only down 1. But still, I think that Porsche is going to have to have a little bit of repairs done to it hopefully in the pit stop window, so they don't have to stop now and lose too much time. But just an unfortunate incident there for Marina.
Yeah, that's a real shame, that is. And Ryuko Dragonhalf in the chat has been saying, plenty of time left, Marin, you can do it, you rock. Really showing the support for Marin Edwards. But I've heard a commentator's curse, but never commenter's curse, because that's certainly a new one to me. But unfortunately, that Porsche has now dropped down. Verena May is down to 9th place, still fighting away with Ilana Day Potter. Kerry Mitchell is now up into 10th place, but it's close apparently between Alice Horton. Sarah Moore has actually got past into 3rd, and now it's Andrade trying to get through. A little bit of contact, I think, there, or Alice Horton thought, no, I need to get out of the way here. And suddenly, Alice Horton is now down to 5th position here. So it's all changed at the front here, Connell. We've got some great battles going on.
Yeah, everyone is much closer together. It's fantastic to see these fresh battles. People battling with people they weren't originally doing in the first 2 rounds. So it is new territory for some of these drivers. And we've seen, actually, we commented on it at the Hungaroring, Chaz, that D'Andrade has had really nothing to do. I mean, she was the best of the rest in terms of the top 3 in the first stint. Top 3 were the Aston Martins, and then there was D'Andrade, and then everybody else. So D'Andrade was pretty much in a race of her own for the first 2 rounds of this series. So maybe it's showing a little bit of inexperience in terms of actually battling with in terms of racecraft here, where she got a little bit flustered maybe. I've seen her run wide a couple of times, lost positions down as far as 5th, but she seems to be regrouping now. She's setting some quicker times now and is closing, has got past Alice Horton and is now closing on Sarah Moore.
Yeah, that's it. It's all about just getting on with your own race, and whether there is a car around you or not, you've just got to try and focus on your lap times and your consistency. We've got quite an interesting train though. They may be a little bit spread out, about a second and a half between each car from 2nd place backwards, but Andrade is actually half a second behind Sarah Moore now, so just shows you the yo-yo effect of some of these. And Gemma Moore actually had connection issues, it seems, so she had to DNF from the race. That's a real shame to lose Gemma Moore so early on. But yeah, Ava doing a good job at the moment again here, Kyle, and you've got to think, when Seb Handler gets in that car, we've seen that in the end of these races that Janetta suddenly just goes up even more of a level, because I mean, Ava's been great, but Seb makes that car even quicker and really does climb to the top. 2 second places so far this season. Can they get that win here?
Seb definitely got a handle on this Janetta. I think they've got the setup sorted out for the race. The one driver that doesn't seem to have any sort of race pace is that of Horton. I thought Horton was going to be our contender for the honours here in the first stint. I mean, obviously every driver wants to win their stint, and I think Alice Horton would have been the driver I would have pegged to win her stint. But just struggling a bit there with pace. I mean, she's dropped all the way down to 5th place at the moment, and it doesn't seem to be due to any mistakes or problems from her side, just not having the pace in this first part of the race. But Ava, I've got to say, has always been the one that flies under the radar, maybe just not as good with the racecraft. But sits there, watch the driver in front, can keep up with the driver's pace in front of her. And as I say that, getting very racy on the Aston Martin of Sarah Moore there. Doesn't want to let Louisa Bella get away. And obviously doesn't want Austin to get away and give Sebastian Handler the best possible chance he can get of taking the win. He's down the inside now into the right hand. This is going to be touch and go. But we've seen a couple of full send moments happen just down into the left-hander after the straight. But unfortunately, that Janetta not getting the drive off the corner and unable to make the lunge down the inside into the left-hand hairpin.
Well, Alice Horton wants a piece of this as well. She's thinking, right, you two are going to start battling. That's going to give me a little bit of an opportunity to close up. And then in the background as well, Denise Pope. Denise has been a little bit under the radar recently, sitting there in 6th position in the number 79 Porsche. Another double apex right-hander here for the Aston Martin of Sarah Moore. This is the last podium place that she's trying to defend at the moment. And this is very, very touch and go at this point of the race, because 40 minutes to go, nearly a third of the way through. They've got to be thinking where they're going to keep this car when they come to the pit stops, aren't they, Connell? Because you could hand it back to your teammate. Sarah's gone very sideways. I was going to say you could hand it back to your teammate when you're in a terrible place on track, surrounded by cars, or you can just either take one lap in early to hopefully give your teammate a clear out lap, or stay out on track when the others pit and hope that they don't come back out in traffic. It can easily go both ways, can't it?
Yeah, very difficult situation to be in. The benefit for these ladies is that they have their co-drivers who are a little bit more experienced with the sim, maybe a little bit, I hope, more experienced in terms of driver swaps and endurance style races. So they should have a pretty good grasp on things. We know, of course, guys like Seb Handler, Gregor Schill, etc. They compete in the Endurance Cup, so they will have pretty good understand of the way the sim works and the way endurance strategies work. So hopefully there won't be any major issues and we can get back to great racing like this in the second stint.
And DeAndrade's just got a really good run on Sarah Moore there, but Sarah has the inside line, so gets to defend, although Ava's got a great cutback actually. Doesn't quite get the overlap though, but Alice Horton is sitting there thinking, right, I need to gain these positions back ASAP. I'm not going to hang around and wait. Ava's looking around the outside now of Sarah Moore. Sarah's just putting this car everywhere she needs to. Little bit of a wobble on the exit there of the Aston Martin. And can this Janetta out-drag some of Great Britain's finest through the very fast right-hander? There they go. Well, they're all British cars, aren't they? Let's face it. Another double apex right-hander onto the brakes. Get the car settled. Alice Horton's out of shape. Just misses the back of the Janetta. The car really wobbled there. Watch on the brakes. Just gets sideways there. I said get it settled. Alice doesn't, but wow. Andrade got very lucky there, didn't she, Kyle? Oh, never mind getting lucky. Contact again. Let's see what happened here. Sorry, mate. We're going to have to have a look back. What do you see here, buddy?
Well, first is the great avoidance skills from Alice Horton not to collect the Janetta. But it looked like Denise Pope just got a little bit excited behind these two and climbed into the back of them. But we'll see them now into the hairpin. Sarah Moore slows it down on the apex. The Janetta's got nowhere really to go except into the back of it. They make two double taps. And Denise Pope smells blood in the water, wants to get through on the inside. 3 into 1 does not go. And there's contact between all three of them. That was... it just seemed like a comedy of errors there.
Yeah, I think the initial contact was maybe Ava just not quite being ready for Sarah to get on the brakes that much. But the second one, I have to say, Denise got alongside Sarah for a good bit, and then Sarah turned in to across the nose of the Porsche there, and then obviously the contact on the exit was just as a result of that. Denise Pope now has to defend from the Aston Martin of Alethea Book. And Sarah Moore, don't forget here, Connell, has that 15-second penalty as well.
Yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the incident that just occurred because, as Kev said, the amount of errors in there was very, very unfortunate for all parties involved. Although I think, unfortunately for Sarah Pope, or excuse me, Denise Pope, it looked like Denise Pope was an unfortunate victim and all that. Really could have capitalized big there for Denise, capitalizing 2 positions and taking herself up into podium contention. But as you said, Charles, just the door got closed. She had nowhere to go. Very unfortunate. The Andrade maybe showing a little inexperience with racecraft there. I was noticing there for the past 2 laps that when she was following Alice Horton, she was carrying so much more corner speed than Alice and the Janetta, and was actually having to go left or right of Alice through the corners to not ram into the back of her. And when you're racing with a car, especially with a car like the Aston, different characteristics. You really, when you're driving behind, you got to account for that lack of corner speed in comparison to your car. And unfortunately, she did not.
Yeah, that's it. You need to be prepared to adapt your lines or adapt your braking zones just because you're following somebody. Alethea Book's having a bit of a nightmare trying to follow Denise Pope here. She's lost quite a bit of time. Josie Austin, by the way, is still in this race, and just quite a long way out front. 7.8 seconds over Ana Luisa Bello, who is then 7.7 seconds ahead of Eva de Andrade. She's now a little bit on her own at the moment, but once again, 3rd place. You can just see in the background there Tilana Nell coming through the final corner in the M4 with Marin Edwards just behind. Andy Lab and Emma Richards were close together a few seconds ago, but Emma Richards seems to have lost 15 seconds all of a sudden out of nowhere on that last lap, so maybe an issue there. This is Verena May and Christine Salt. We've been here before, haven't we, Kyle? We've seen these 2 cars already make contact today.
Yeah, I think it was a deja vu happening there. I thought we were just watching a replay from early on in the race. Difference is the cars have swapped themselves around. It was Verena May, I think, was in front of Salt at one stage and then behind her, and a little bit of contact made. But they're back at it again. The one thing I must touch on, though, is that stopping it on the apex is something that is used as a defensive strategy. I'm not saying that that was being done by Sarah Moore, but it is something I take advantage of quite often. You slow it down a little bit more on the mid apex and force the car behind you to brake a little bit for a little bit longer, and it gives you that 1 or 2 car length breather on the way out. But it just looked like Sarah just stopped it way too much, and poor Andrade wasn't quite sure when to get on the power, but Verena May was hassling Salt quite badly early on in this lap before I started ranting on about driver conduct, but losing a lot of time on that McLaren through that section. Maybe the damage on that Porsche just a little bit too much at the moment.
Yeah, that's it, and it obviously does affect the car over the course of a run as well, and it can wear out the tyres if you're having to compensate your driving style and add a bit more lock on. You can wear the tyres out a bit quicker. Alethea Book is still the closest car on track with Denise Pope. Well, they were at the last sector beam anyway. It was 1.3 seconds. Seems like it's probably still about that at the moment. Maybe the gap's got a little bit bigger, because Denise is on a good lap by the look of it. In the background, Marin Edwards was still chasing down Tilana Nell. I think they may have swapped places. Yes, it's just changed on the timing tower on the left-hand side. But this is a nice tidy race really so far, to be honest, Connell. We've had a couple little incidents here and there, but it's not been that bad really, has it? There's been some fantastic manoeuvres going on.
Yeah, and it really does. To be able to sort of see, how should we say this, to be able to see the improvement live, through watching it through the races, it really is very interesting. It's a dynamic way to watch people grow. If we were to say we get an inexperienced driver who's just joined the sim grid without a series like this, we'd be watching them in one race, be out the back and maybe not pay attention to them, and then all of a sudden they're there fighting for contention for a podium next weekend where we don't actually see their rate of progression. So a series like this, learner series, shall we say, is fantastic to actually see this learning and progression live. And we've seen, of course, De Andrade, we've seen Luisa Bello, I think, is the prime example of it, being so far off, well, not so far off to sound disrespectful, but so far off in comparison to how far off the lead she is now in the early races. So it really is, it's a dynamic way to see these ladies progress, and I think it's very, very interesting indeed.
Yeah, at the moment she's 1.1 seconds a lap off the pace of Josie Austin, but Josie's just in a different league at the moment. It's just that Aston Martin is really on the pace, and she's doing a great job with getting that car around. Nearly halfway through the race then, nearly here with the pit window, which opens in just a couple of minutes, maybe, well, oh, there you go. I was going to say maybe another minute or so, but no. There you go, pit window is now open. So, will Josie Austin take advantage of it straight away? She's got one corner here to make up her mind. No, she's going to stay out. She's on the pace. She may as well at this point, hadn't she, Kyle? It's all about thinking if you've got someone that's absolutely flying at the moment, do you just make the most of it and keep them in the car?
Oh, 100%. Louisa Bella, though, deciding against it, but they do have a 7-second gap to maintain, to chase down. So if Josie Austin stays out, and the second driver jumping into Louisa Bella's car is quite a bit quicker, as you see the Janetta getting all kinds of ugly out of shape coming into the pits. But you got to think of what the pace of the second driver is as well. So that is something Josie Austin's team needs to take into consideration, how long to stay out. And do they respond straight away and bring her in at the very next lap on the other group? It's difficult to decide because the driver that's in the car is comfortable, knows the track, knows what the car is going to feel like. The second driver climbing in doesn't. So it's a bit of a lottery for the second driver going out there. The car may have a bit of damage, tires may be worn a little bit differently. So it's quite a difficult thing to get in and bang straight on the pace. But saying that, we have seen Seb Handler do it, and first lap out, he's on the pace straight away. So it's quite a lot to deal with, quite a lot to work out, and I think very much of it boils down to experience between the two drivers and how well they know each other.
Yeah, that's it. There's a very, very strong example of team dynamic going on here, and you need to make sure that in every way possible you work together. And even just when it comes to communicating over the course of the race, you know, you need to have your wits about you and do what you can. Josie Austin then still leading the way. Alice Horton has also stayed out. Denise Pope has done the same. Alethea Book and Sarah Moore. But we have Sheldon Scott Muscat now taking to the track in the Mercedes. Very slow pit lane exit through there. And it's quite a long one, isn't it, Connell? You go all the way around the exit of that chicane, don't you, just to avoid any nonsense there?
Yeah, it feels like an absolute age. But to be fair, I mean, if we're looking at the safety of the track, especially for real life racing, it's pretty much the only place that you can do pit exit. We see a lot of drivers in now, not risking what happened in the first race with Martin and Johnson. So everyone, hopefully, and I say that with a couple of drivers still on track, hopefully pitting during the pit window. But yeah, it's a long one. It feels like an age, especially with the speed you're doing there. So that's what we were saying about drive-throughs being very, very detrimental to your race. I mean, more so than other tracks, as if it's not detrimental to every track, but it's more detrimental at this track especially. But in saying that, again, I don't want to jinx anyone. We've already had a commenter's curse. I don't want to make it a commentator's curse. We haven't had anyone with drive-through so far. So again, showing the way and showing how much more controlled these ladies are so far.
Indeed, doing a fantastic job. Denise Pope then has inherited the front of the field with Alethea Book just behind. Alice Horton and Josie Austin. Josie just leaving the pit lane now, and that, I believe, is that Gregor Schill just behind? In the Verena May car, they're a lap down. That's why. I was going to say that would have been a hell of a lot of time to gain back, wouldn't it? Really, on that one, Kyle, that would have been an amazing turnaround.
Yeah, it's like Verena May just dove out the window while the car was still moving, and Gregor Schill dived in. But unfortunately, just a lap down. But Akiko, we've seen absolute wonders out of that as well. So down to fourth, Sarah Moore, Book, and Pope are not pitted yet. So basically, the lead of the race still with Akiko. Gregor Schill flashing lights just to let them know it's time. He wants to get past. He's quick enough, and he wants to lap himself. But whether or not we see more shenanigans like we saw in the last round of lapped cars getting in the way, it doesn't seem that way though. Kiko moving right over and letting Gregor through. get onto the back of him and chase him around, maybe improve the lap times and keep that a lead, well, basically the lead of the race at the moment.
Yeah, that's it. It's an effective race lead at the moment, but we've got Denise Pope now, Sarah Moore, Alethea Book in the pit lane then for a swap, a driver swap. Just have to see what they can manage when their teammates get in. We've got Sarah Savage out on track now instead of Alice Horton. Snookeroo says, how long have they been racing? It's a 1 hour race, and we are just over halfway. The pit window has now closed, so any of these drivers that have not made their stop yet will now get penalised. Here's Jens Kaiser, just into 10th place overall in this race, just ahead of Einor Cavion in Team Dog, as that was their team name choice, just the word dog, so we're going to go with that. Vojta Pavlicek, one of my favourite names in the sim grid in any of the series we cover, 9th place at the moment for Team We'll Think About It in the McLaren, and certainly thinking about it at the moment is the Czech driver. Number 3 McLaren chasing down the number 4 McLaren, but it's Jasmine Akiko, top of the pile here, Connell.
And we've seen before Akiko control that lead. She did it at the Hungaroring, and she did it again under immense pressure at the Nurburgring. She has Seb Handler in 3rd, but she's a new challenger that she will not be used to having to defend the lead from Scott Muscat, and that is, of course, because of the rapid improvement of Scott Muscat's teammates. So absolutely brilliant from Bello. And we'll see now what Scott Muscat can do to try and hold off, or try and catch Akiko and also hold off on Seb Handler. This would be a big improvement for this team. Season best finish so far for that Mercedes, if it stays as it is, and per Kaiser is still under pressure from Einor Cavion.
Yeah, we'll just stay on with this Aston and BMW battle for a moment, just see what Einor can do here, because it's looking like a very feisty one here. BMW weaving around all over the place, but Kyle, just talk us through what these drivers will be thinking at this point.
You know, the braking differences between these two cars is absolutely massive as well, so the follow on, especially in the Aston on the BMW, is quite difficult. But a similar pace in terms of straight lines, so it's going to make passing very hard for Cavion, especially, you know, through what is normally a lot of the passing places on the circuit are very much on the exit of the corner. As we see now, that BMW gets it wrong, and Cavion just not anticipating that, trying to wait to get the place back and nearly taking out the Porsche. I think that is of Thompson, but Cavion does get the place back. A very kind gesture of Cavion in sim racing. We do kind of expect it. We take it as an apology, but I just didn't anticipate. She just didn't anticipate that BMW stepping out there on the power and unfortunately running into the back quarter panel of it, turning it around. So we carry on with the battle after letting through that of the BMW. The BMW driver doing very well. That's Kaiser there in the BMW, taking over from my compatriot South African Null as they head down into turn 1. The Aston Martin do getting a run of Cavion, getting a run there into turn 1, turn 2. BMW again, the back end looking very untidy, running wide out of turn 2 there. This is going to give Cavion the run down into turn 4. It is a hard braking point and a great place to stick the nose on the inside. Does look at it. Changes the mind last minute, but it does hamper the drive through this right and double left. If you can't get this car over to the right and left again, you're not going to get the run down the long back straight. But Cavion doing great to try and maintain that momentum after that error in turn 2. But unfortunately, losing a lot of time on Kaiser now into the left-hand hairpin. The track does look very grippy there. But it's a difficult battle to maintain, like I said before, with these two cars.
Yeah, these pair of machines are so different to each other on paper when you look at the road cars, but yeah, they're both doing an amazing job. These two are definitely not different though. We've got two of the same cars together here. We've got Sarah Savage and James West having a scrap on track. Of course, the 25 Speed Kitty car, and James West, teammate of Alethea Book. And, well, to be honest, Connell, with the very garish pink Aston Martin behind you, you're definitely going to be checking your mirrors, but Sarah Savage has got more than that to think about right now, because it's going to be the wing mirrors she's checking.
You're not going to miss it, that's for sure. She goes wide. Oh, good avoidance there. You can see that rear snapping around there as she tries to recover that. But yeah, it's a byproduct of that corner. You just feel like you can brake so much later every time you go into it. So much. You get that little bit more, and then all of a sudden you're out into the marbles. So it's a very difficult corner to get right. And multiple lines there, of course, you can cut back, as we see D'Andrade did earlier on in the race. Cut back and square the corner off and get that drive out. So multiple lines through it does make it quite a challenge. Speaking of multiple lines, there's multiple lines going on between these two. This is tremendous battling here. Savage is really, I mean, it is one of those things. What do you do when you lose a position? Do you bite straight back, or do you sit behind the car in front and just analyze them a little? It depends, of course, on pace. If you feel like you do have the pace to actually make the break and have just made a mistake yourself, well, then maybe you can try biting straight back and trying to extend that gap again. But realistically, if you're on similar pace, it might make sense just to sit back, just to learn where the driver in front is weak, where they're strong, and use that info for a pass later on in the race.
Yeah, Sarah Savage, though, not doing any of that at the moment. She got so close to the back of West, it almost looked like you could put a piece of paper between the two cars and it would have been held up between the two of them. That's how close they got together. So Sarah Savage not abiding her time to see where she is quicker than that of West to get the pass done. So these two are running a super close together. Oh, another mistake there on the outside, but this time from West. Does that give Sarah the run down into the right hand? It does not. Unfortunately, having to back out of that, but this section is so tricky for these cars to get them turned back onto the second apex. And as I say that, West running a little bit wide, and I think that's opened the move down into the following corner, Connell.
Yeah, and this run down here, very important. But I mean, when you go into this, not this corner, but the next one, which is a passing opportunity, it really is only a passing opportunity. Oh, this is getting too close for words. It really is only a passing opportunity if you're right alongside the car. Making a dive bomb like that, we've seen what happens if you try and make a dive bomb earlier on in the race. It really does not go well for either party, so you really have to be alongside along that straight to even stand a chance of passing there. You're much better to try and focus on the run through that corner and then maybe get the inside line into the hairpin and follow straight after. But just shows you, Kyle, I mean, we're seeing here these ladies, 44.3 was the best lap and 47 they did last time around, so they're losing a lot of time to the cars in front, and it's just a byproduct really of battles like this.
Yeah, Sarah Savage just looking like she's almost braking when she sees the brake lights of West, because they seem to be trading errors throughout her lap, and I think that's why we're not seeing a pass. I mean, West making an error and Sarah following it, and then a little bit of defensive driving, but nothing too hectic, because it doesn't seem like Sarah Savage can get the run. This seems to be the only place that she's managed to get the run down, and West very quick to defend, but he's opened the door. Is Sarah going to be late enough on the brakes? And not just yet. This corner is terrible because it keeps just tightening on you. It's almost like someone's picking up the tire and moving it inwards as you try to get around the corner. This is rather frustrating. But again, it's Sarah looking for places to pass when the defense is all there, and that's losing time on the driver in front and just making it more difficult to get past. So it's whether or not you drop back and just put the pressure instead of trying to look for the move all the time.
Yeah, it's you know yourself, anyone who's been a part of a race or a sim race knows if you have that car behind you and right in your rearview mirror, that really does put the pressure on you. And mistakes do happen. Mistakes happen even the most accomplished of drivers due to pressure. As we're on board now, Seb Handler has caught Scott Muscat. I don't think they'll be anywhere close to a Kiko. Kiko, of course, again, driving a fantastic race, but this is the battle. Seb Handler and his teammate D'Andrade in that Ginetta has had two second places in a row, looking to make it another one, 3 second places. Of course, they wanted to win. It's out of the reach now, you would suspect, unless a mistake from Akiko. But this is a challenge that they did not expect they would have to face. I mean, realistically, remove this Mercedes and it's another pretty simple second place finish for Seb Hamler and Dan Drash. But this Mercedes really come out of nowhere.
I just want to say as well, by the way, sorry everybody for the lack of movement on the cameras. I'm actually very not well right now, to say the least. But yeah, thank you very much, Connell and Kyle, for keeping things moving. I will try and obviously keep these cameras going as well as possible, guys. But I'm going to have to hand it over to you, Per, for now, because things here aren't great in terms of me. So I will try and push on, though, as... Oh, somebody's just pushing on there, Kyle. Seb Handler.
I think Seb Handler getting a little bit frustrated. You know, he's only got 17 minutes left to go. 16 seconds is the gap to Akiko. So you'd have to run a second quicker per minute. I wanted to say a second quicker a lap, but the lap just slightly over, well, just slightly under 2 minutes. So to run at 2 seconds a lap quicker than Akiko is going to be difficult to do. But Seb Handler just showing a little bit of frustration, trying to get the move done early on Muscat, and that causing him to run wide. And that is one of the corners that will give you a track limitation warning. So hopefully Andrade gave him the car over with very few track limit warnings. I'm sure Michael will tell me if they do pass onto the driver or if they stay with the car. But Handler just giving a little bit more room to Scott Muscat, setting himself up, maybe just watching and learning first before having a lunge like he did on the previous lap.
Yeah, Seb, of course, biting a little bit. Maybe I was surprised. Can't believe it. Scott Muscat, I'm not used to racing you in this series, but maybe the shock is playing a factor. But Seb just got to keep himself composed. Of course, 15 minutes still to go. We have a long way to go, relatively speaking, in terms of opportunities for Seb Hamler to make a pass. And there is opportunities. There's plenty of opportunities at this track. A lot of hairpins, a lot of slow corners, a lot of fast corners that lead into slow corners. Is ripe for overtaking. But yeah, we're going to stick with this battle because it doesn't look like it's going to cool off at all. Seb Handler really wants to make that 3 second places in a row and keep that championship fight alive. Of course, it looks as though that GZR Team Cake crew will have the championship essentially wrapped up. But again, we've seen in motorsport time and time again, essentially doesn't mean that much. Anything can and will happen.
Yeah, 110% on board with that one as the Ginetta right over the back of Scott Muscat on the exit of the final corner. It is difficult to pass into turn 1, but we've seen it done around the outside by James Parker. The Ginetta chooses for the inside, maybe just showing the nose to put pressure on that of Muscat into turn 1, make him force the error into turn 2, and make the pass possible down into turn 4. But the Mercedes-Benz very strong out of turn 4, but still having to give the dummy to the Ginetta. And this is just allowing Taplin back into the party. We could see a 3-way battle here for second place when we only expected to see the 2 of them trip over each other. There might be a third. Taplin also might be sitting there thinking, I might just get myself not only just onto the podium, but onto the second step if these 2 keep tripping over each other.
Yeah, again, I talk about the stuff that we see time and time again in motorsport. We see that a lot. Taplin, of course, just needs to stay consistent, and not even necessarily a big incident for Handler and Muscat. Just a bit of a collision kills their momentum a little bit, and Taplin has got a sniff of this podium. Not a million miles off there, only 2.5 off, and with these 2 even balance, they don't even have to make contact really, just the way of the balance. We've seen, as we see Seb Handler, will he make a move? No, he does not. Will he make a move into the hairpin? He's thinking about it, loses his drive here at a spot he can't really pass, but Muscat made a mistake. Seb Handler's shoving it up the inside. Does he get it done? How close do you like it? That was so ridiculously close. Good driving by both parties not to make contact there. Yeah, Kyle, I mean, this is sort of reminding me, I hope you remember the GT4 launch night that we had and the crazy racing that we had in GT4 around here.
Oh, absolutely. It's very much reminiscent of that. But Taplin now getting almost right into the back of this battle as we look at Handler. Handler showed his hand early into the final sector. He started running the curbs on the inside quite early on to get the move done into the hairpin. Oh, he tried to go onto the inside to have the dive down the inside into the turn 4 or turn 5, sorry. But unfortunately, the back end stepping out on him and he lost the drive. But he does have the pace to get past Muscat. That is definite. It's just where he's going to do it. That Mercedes-Benz is wide, but Muscat doing a great job to make it even wider and making Seb Handler work for his prize here, work for his second place. We've seen him do it 2 rounds in the last 2 rounds. Will he do it again here in the third? And a driver's car. Oh, big mistake there from Mercedes-Benz, running deep on. It looks like Handler's going to run the outside. Is he going to be able to switch it back? No, he's already alongside the Mercedes-Benz. So he's going to be forced to go the long way around. He's done it late. He's trying to keep it there on the outside. Is he going to pull it back for the cutback? He does so. But unfortunately, the Merc, far too wise of a driver, Muscat there. And he closed the inside down early. But it's not over yet. Handler looking for the inside. The Merc moves, but the Merc moves late. They're going to go side by side through this long sweepy right-hander. The cutback is on for Handler. We're going to see him grab the curb early. He does so. He grabs the curb early again here, but he's going to lose the drive before the hairpin. So unfortunately, Handler not learning from his previous mistake of showing his hand early, and Muscat was wise to block that off. But have a look in the background. The Porsche of Taplin is right there.
Yeah, Taplin's gonna. Sorry to butt in on you there, Connell, but Taplin, we've both sort of noticed him, haven't we? Where he's just chipping away at this gap, and the more these pair fight in front of him, he can see more of an opportunity here, can't he? He's just thinking, go on, get your elbows out, knock them door handles together. I want to just go through the middle. And do you reckon he could do that?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, with the way, but again, the way Muscat and Handler is fighting, they're so close that it doesn't even take a massive mistake. Again, there, Handler almost into the back of Muscat. It does not take a big mistake, and Taplin will be through on the pair of them. But I just want to give a shout out again. I hope I'm not speaking too soon, but the way Muscat and Handler battled for pretty much the entire lap there, and how clean and safe it was, but also how vicious it was. That was fantastic stuff. We seen into not this hairpin, but the next one. We seen Scott Muscat take about 4 bites of the brake there as he tried to stay alongside Seb Handler, block his exit and get his own exit just about right. But Taplin is there, and he is going to make a charge himself.
Yeah, this is for podium positions as well, don't forget. We've also got this battle still going on. We have James West behind Sarah Savage. Once again, 2 Aston Martins locked in battle on this circuit, but we will stay with this one because Sheldon Scott Muscat has got a lot of work to do to keep these pair behind. I mean, we've seen here, Kyle, that Sebastian's got the pace over Sheldon, but it's just getting that move done. He just can't quite find the advantage, and now with Taplin right on the back of him, he's got more pressure than ever to get that done.
Yeah, Taplin got so close that he could have jumped out and used the rear wing as a table and ate his dinner on it. It's insane how close these guys can run together. It shows you how far Sims have come. There used to be issues with lag and issues with all sorts of things. You couldn't run close to the car behind you, in front of you. But both these drivers on different countries racing on a server are very far away from each other. And they're able to run so close together. It does really show the progression we've had in technology in sim racing. But Taplin looking so racy behind the back there of Handler. Handler had the pace, but it looks like this dice has just absolutely ruined the tires on that Ginetta. And unfortunately can't keep mounting the charge on Muscat. But saying that, one small mistake from Muscat and these two will be all over him like a sore rash.
Indeed they will be. I was just going back to the lag comment you made there. I actually fell out with a friend of mine in high school because we lagged into one another. I was behind him, and we were in an online race together. And I turned him around with lag on my screen. I was nowhere near him. Next thing I know, he was facing the other way, and yeah, we didn't speak to each other for about a week after that. So yeah, hopefully we don't have as many fallouts now in sim racing. Now it's a lot more nicely done and a lot more polished. But yeah, those F for anyone that used to race in the original Xbox Live times when that first came around with the likes of Forza, because it was very tough, wasn't it, Connell? It was a different world to what it is now.
Yeah, it's phenomenal just how far we've come that we can get racing as close as this. And if you're following the Sim Grid, please do follow the Sim Grid. If you want to follow the channel, subscribe. If you're new here, leave a like, of course, on this video. And don't forget to check simgrid.com for all the races currently going on and the future upcoming events if you want to register for any of them. We've multiple splits for Sprint Cup, Endurance Cup, and of course our one-off races, the GT4 Madness, GT3 races, of course. Yeah, and all these races being facilitated by the new technology, and we've seen. I mean, I don't think we've had a dull race in SimGrid at all that we've broadcasted on anyway.
That's very true. Very, very true. Aenor is having to defend here from Vicky Thompson, but 7 3/4 minutes to go. Jasmine Akiko leading this race at the moment by a long way from Sheldon Scott Muscat, who's still under pressure from this pesky Ginetta and the pesky Porsche. And this Ginetta here, Kyle, is going for three finishes in second place and an 100% record of doing so. Can Sheldon be the first one to hold them off for that?
Oh, he's going deeper on the outside. That was brave. Break that Ginetta on the curbs like that was absolutely brave. I wouldn't even attempt that in any car, never mind in a GT4 car that does tend to get away from you on the brake. Oh, full send moment down the inside. There is no way he's going to get that car stopped. And he's going to drop himself down from a chance to finish in second all the way down to behind Taplin now in fourth place. But this dice is nowhere near from over. The three of them are glued together. You could throw the proverbial blanket over them. They are running so close together, but unbelievable the sort of racing. And like we said, unbelievable to see drivers from all over the world. And even our commentary team sounds like a bad joke. An Englishman, an Irishman, and South African walk into a bar.
Oh, God, yeah. Well, to be fair, I'm going to probably come up with some punchlines for that for next week. We'll finish that joke off. But this is a brilliant battle list. Really good. And that's with a triple capital B, because what a great sight we have here. And look at how much pace they're all carrying mid-corner as well. They're trying so hard. Taplin now in the slipstream of Sheldon Scott Muscat's Mercedes. He goes one way, then the other, then the other. Sheldon thinks, which way do you want to go, Sunshine? Make your mind up. Seb Handler's thinking, I'll just rather go around the outside of the pair of you, but I'm not mad enough to try that yet. We will go on board with Seb Handler. He's going to have the best view of this. Plenty of track limits warnings coming your way, ladies and gentlemen. Get your bingo cards out and get your pen, because we're going to be stamping them off as they go. But that's 79 of Porsche of Taplin as Sheldon Scott Muscat caves to the pressure already. Side by side though, through the right left. This isn't going to end well, boys. Although he manages to get it sorted. But look at Handler on the run. He's going to go to the right hand side. Is he going to make this work? He's going to be on the grass. Taplin gives him the room. No. Sheldon Scott Muscat moves over. There's still three wide. There's Robin Wing Mirrors here, trying to go around the outside. Seb Handler, Sheldon Scott Muscat holds onto it. Somehow Taplin's going to try and get the cutback. And Taplin gets the switch over. And that was wonderful stuff. Amazing three wide action there from them, Connell. Oh, I can calm down now, or can I?
Yeah, I mean, no. With the way these guys are going, no. Seb Handler didn't want to lift, used the grass to stay in that battle. I mean, that is just phenomenal. 5 minutes to go. If these guys manage to go 5 minutes with the way they're battling, another 5 minutes, and still all keep it on track without any major incidents, I mean, I will be just amazed. I think I'll be the best pieces of driving I've seen in anything, because the way these guys, especially Handler and Muscat for the most part, for the past 10 minutes have been driving so aggressive and so close to each other, but at the same time so silky smooth. So yeah, driving by these guys, and we're not finished yet.
No, we're not. Handler tries it again. I've got a punchline to that joke, and it's an Englishman, an Irishman, and a South African walk into a bar, and one of them loses his voice, so he asks for a drink off the other pair. But look at that round the outside. Seb Handler, sorry, that was a terrible joke. It wasn't even a joke, it was just me saying that I'm losing my voice at this point. But Seb Handler back onto the podium in that Ginetta, but Rob Taplin, well, he's driving off at the moment, and Sheldon Scott Muscat is driving off the circuit as things stand. But wow, amazing 3 marks as well in one fight like that, just showing how fantastic the balance of performances between these GT cars. Eric is admitting to trolling. Thank you, mate. I'm glad that you landed a big fish in the form of me, let me tell you. But no, fantastic racing all the same. We've got some drivers further down with penalties. Aenor Cavillon has got a 5-second penalty. Gregor Schill, 15-second penalty. That was picked up by his teammate Verena May earlier in the race. But we've just got a moment here now, Kyle, where we can just calm down a little bit. I don't think it'll last. Do you?
No, not at all. Look, I know that the Handler and Muscat were battling for quite a while, and that could have taken its toll on both of their tyres. So Rob could get a bit of breathing room here on all three. The proverbial blanket has been lifted. There's no longer covering all three of them. But I'm so glad you took the majority of that action, because I don't think I have the lungs for it. I smoked too many Camel Blacks today, because that was absolutely insane. They were moving, shaking, going all over the place, left, right, straight, center. But big cojones there on Handler to go around the outside of the grass. I definitely would have chosen the inside run there on the turn in rather than go for the outside. But I think Handler had already committed to running to the outside, and unfortunately it was the wrong choice. But he stuck with it.
Yeah.
Kudos to him for doing that. But he's definitely still got pace, though. He is catching back onto the back of Taplin. But I think it's giving us a bit of breathing room to have a look at some of the dices throughout the field, as it is.
Jens
lost my
Kaiser,
screen
this
there.
one here.
Jens Kaiser coming under pressure from Austin's. Side by side now into the following corner is a right-hander, but Jens Kaiser just moving over as if the car on his outside didn't exist there for a second.
Yeah, he was just saying, right, you stay on your line, mate. This is what I'm going to do here. Watch and learn. And the M4, he's probably blocking the sun from that Aston Martin at the moment in the size comparison with the height of that thing. And I tell you what, it's a mile prettier than the current, the new M4 that's just been announced anyway. So long may this one stay. But he's doing a good job at defending that at the moment. We do have to keep looking back, though, at this, because Rob Taplin now has 1.6 seconds. Seb Handler with a drive-through penalty. And same for Erdmann as well, further down the order as well. He's given himself a bit of a hindrance there by Handler. But, yeah, that's a real shame, that is, to have been given a drive-through. Michael is typing in the chat to give us the information, so I'm sure we'll see. Oh, it's just for track limits. Track limits on both these cars, and with 1.5 minutes to go, well, that's ruined any chance of that podium, hasn't it, Seb? Connell.
Yeah, that is disappointing for Seb, but when you're pushing the way he is, sometimes mistakes are made, and I'd be curious actually to find out, was that, as it could well be around this track, was that all three warnings issued on those few couple of laps he's been battling with Scott Muscat, or was there prior? Because we've seen these two drivers getting very, very loose together. But Taplin isn't, let's say, in regards to the SimGrid, a household name. We haven't seen him in any of the series so far, and he's just past Handler, past Muscat, and has flew away from them. Yeah. So really impressed with driving by Taplin. I look forward to seeing what he has in the future. But yeah. Oh, who's this? Oh, it's the leader. That's right. Akiko. Well used to it by now, but Jasmine Akiko has just managed the gap beautifully. And unfortunately for her, we haven't seen much of her. But I suppose she'd rather be that way and her to be having the lead that she has.
That's it. And this team have been fantastic so far. 2 wins out of 2. And it looks like we're going to get 3 out of 3 here. And if Jasmine crosses the line here and wins this race for GZR Team Cake, which makes me hungry at just the thought of it, they will only need 10th place or better at the final round to win the championship. She's only got a couple of corners to go now, and the number 137 Aston Martin has put in another absolutely cracking performance. Her teammate Josie took the lead early on. Jasmine has just stretched that advantage with the battle behind. It's 3 out of 3 for GZR Team Cake. Fantastic drive, amazing performance. And Rob Taplin as just a stand-in for this round, apparently, for Wild Things. So sorry, Connell. But the number 79 into the final corner managed to take advantage of that epic battle we saw and get on the podium, 2nd place. Now, what is going to happen to Seb Handler? Because he's not served that drive-through. He is not going to finish 3rd, surely. Sheldon Scott Muscat will finish 3rd. A great podium for the Mercedes there on that one, Kyle, because what a brilliant comeback that was. We've seen that Mercedes languishing a bit further down the order so far. But a podium here at Misano is a great result.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a 30-second penalty there for Handler. So the drive-through turns into a 30-second there for him. But a great drive from Muscat, a great drive from teammate there as well to keep that Merc up in the front in the first stint. But unfortunately, the car we saw on pole position after qualifying, now driven by Sarah Savage, will only come home in 5th place. So what they thought would have been a great race day for them has unfortunately turned on itself, and they've only managed to finish 5th. Great finish still as James West comes across the line, showing a little bit of Formula D there, a little bit of Formula Drift for us.
Oh, this isn't over. Hello.
Paycheck isn't over. Yeah, oh, 3 into 1 there. Porsche down the inside as well. So Voiter Paycheck dropping 2 places just before the line from 7th to 9th. Cablion come past in 7th with Vicky Thompson lights are blazing in 8th. And behind that, in 10th, a great drive from 16th place up to 10th, Gregor Schill.
Yeah, definitely. Really, really good stuff from him. But there is your race winner. That, by the way, everybody, from Wojtek Pawlicek, was a professional lesson in how to get mugged off. Just unfortunately couldn't defend the final corner, and that was that. Here is Jasmine, though, drifting the Aston Martin around over the sausage curbs and everything. Track limits, Jasmine, track limits. And now the inevitable donuts will take place if she remembers to turn the traction control off. We've all had issues and done that before. But there you have it.
I've been aware of a very, very high level, regarded as one of the greatest of the modern era, actually try and do a practice start and accidentally turn off launch control and on a motorbike and dump the clutch and basically send himself skywards. So yeah, you gotta be wary with these electronics, these new things all these kids bring out, electronics.
I've seen race drivers stick it in reverse on the standing starts as well. So
Oh, heck.
very interesting. Drop the clutch and go the wrong direction.
Oh, the
It's very
comedy.
interesting. We
Well-
all make mistakes, I suppose.
Oh, we do, yeah. I mean, I once went to pull away from the lights, and I've got a BMW, so if you hit the gear stick hard enough over to the left, it goes into reverse when you push it forward, and then if you don't, then it's in first. I thought I put it in first in my rush to get off the line, realised it wasn't in gear, smacked the gear stick over to the left, put it in reverse, and subsequently reversed into the car behind me. So, yeah, like you say, we all make mistakes, and I'm sure I'm not the only person to have ever done that. But someone that didn't make mistakes today was Jasmine Akiko, who we're looking at right here. That was a nice transition, wasn't it? And her teammate Josie Austin. What a fantastic performance by those two. I mean, fantastic is the word that I've used multiple times. And oh, John, don't worry, it's not a good BMW. It's what we call the Poverty Spec 318. So it's a pretty terrible. Yeah, I'm not even going to go into it. It just upsets me. But yeah, fantastic drive all evening from GZR Team Cake. And as I said, as they cross the line, they only need 10th place or better to win the championship in the final round. So the pressure is very much off at this point, and I think that any second we'll be able to grab an interview with Josie herself. She's going to be in there in a moment, but we can see the car still circulating now. What a fantastic drive. I'm wondering if we can still get the yes, there you go. We can get the timetable up there, just showing you the final results for just a second. You can see that Seb Handler actually dropped only to 4th place because of that penalty. So they got away with that, didn't he, in that one, Connell?
Very, very much so. Dodged a bullet, but you'd have to say, I mean, with the way Josie Austin and Jasmine Akiko are driving, very, very difficult for that Ginetta to win the championship next time out. I mean, realistically, it may take a DNF, because I don't imagine, pace-wise, of course, Josie Austin and Jasmine Akiko being anywhere outside the top 10, so it may take a DNF or something disastrous to happen to those two for that Ginetta to actually win the championship. But in saying that, I mean, if we're looking at it from a whole perspective, we've seen qualifying. Of course, we didn't know how these drivers or the parents would get on, and we've seen from the qualifying of Nurburgring, and we tried to sort of form that pattern, what we suspected, who we suspect would be the favourites, and we really did see the 3 Aston Martins in front and then the rest.
Yeah.
In the Nurburgring. So for the Ginetta to be second in the championship, and a pretty distinct second in the championship, I mean, they've maintained that throughout the whole 3 races. I think that's a fairly good result when they look on it.
Yeah, definitely. And we do have Josie in the chat with us now. Josie, we're making a bit of a habit of speaking to you after these races, but you just keep winning the damn things. I bet you're over the moon with that.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I scarcely understand how we're doing it. I mean, like, I guess it feels kind of different this time around because I got to, like, make the pass for the win in my stint, you know, whereas previously it felt a lot like we just kept our consistency and I kept us in the window so that we could go for the win. But this time, you know, taking P1 on the road myself was a huge rush, and yeah, we were squeeing about it in our voice chat, just going, oh my god, I can't believe that worked.
Love it, absolutely love it. Well, I've been given the information by Michael. I mean, you know what Michael's like with all of his info behind the scenes. He's an absolute legend. He's been feeding us the stats, and it now means, now I'm not sure whether you and Jasmine have figured this one out, but you would only need 10th or better to win the championship at the final round. That must really take the gloves off now.
Oh man, why would you tell us that? Because like now we're going to finish 11th.
I hope you're not. After the form that you've been on, I wouldn't imagine so.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to just do the same thing that we do every week, which is that we turn up and we try and stay out of trouble, do our best to make consistent laps. Really, that's all we've done, and we've been lucky enough to stay out of trouble 3 races in a row. That's really what it feels like, because this race, Alice was super quick, and then she had a couple of little issues and ended up way down the order. In previous races, we've had the same thing where Sarah Johnson's been caught up in traffic and we've made the pass, you know.
Yeah.
It feels a lot like, you know, maybe could it be our turn for misfortune in a week? That's the whole thing, right?
Well,
there's nothing's guaranteed in this sport. We have to hold on.
That's very true. Now, I know I may have slightly cursed it by saying you need to finish 10th or better, but you're the one that's just said we've not run into trouble yet. So we'll go 50-50 on that one, I think, if anything happens. It's not quite a commentator's curse, but yeah.
Yeah, I won't blame you.
It's been great to watch you and your teammate, though. You've both just put such a controlled performance in every single race. We really do hope, obviously, it goes well for every driver in the series in the final round, but of course we do wish you the best of luck for that one, and we'll see you in a week's time. But before we let you go, do you want to give a shout out to anybody?
Yeah, sure. I think I'd like to give a shout out to Antoine Hubert, who of course passed away just over a year ago, racing in F2. So, still thinking about him, watching the Belgian Grand Prix a few days ago, that brings up that experience. So, obviously racing is a dangerous sport, maybe a little less dangerous here on the virtual electronic side, but it still bears thinking about.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, just it's a dangerous sport, but we love it.
Yeah, definitely. Nicely said, though, to be fair. Good sentiment, to be honest. But great to speak to you again, Josie. Very well done on your win today. And we'll see you at the final round in just a week's time.
Thank you very much. Have a great week.
Thank you, you too. Josie Austin there, race winner once again. And joining us now for the second interview of the evening, Denise Pope joins us in the chat. That wasn't the most straightforward of races there, but you and your teammate ended up with a fantastic result out of that one.
Yeah, I almost don't know how. It was just, I tried really hard just to stay with the guys ahead for as long as possible, kind of knowing that there'd be contact at some point, and then there was. And then I think it was just a shame that I got kind of hit when I was trying to overtake. But we sort of recovered, and Rob did a really fantastic job to come back and to get those 2 at the end. It was amazing. I was so tense. I was watching it kind of play out in front of us, and it was just tense. And then they went 3 wide down the straight. I was like, oh my god, what is going to happen?
Yeah, it was certainly a battle that had me testing the abilities of my lungs, let me tell you that. It was it was a very intense one, but very exciting all the same. And like you say, it was just taking advantage of it is one of the best things you can do, and just hang back and watch these battles happen in front of you. Obviously being in the middle of it, didn't really get much of a chance to do so at certain points, but still it paid off in the end and you got a good result. One more round to go in the championship. Do you have anything that you're going to change in terms of your approach to that race? Have you got any more sort of confidence installed in you for that final one?
Honestly, we've just been with both my teammates, we've just been trying to be really, really consistent, because I know I'm not the quickest out there, so just trying to stay consistent, try and be as close to the guys in front as possible, and just sort of pick up the pieces. And I think that will be the same in the last race, and I'm looking forward to getting a second stint in that race. I think that would be really cool.
Well, we hope it goes well for you, Denise. It's been great to watch once again, and we will see you in a week's time. Do you want to give anyone a shout out, by the way, before you go?
I'm going to shout out to Nina, who's watching on Twitch at the moment, I think. So yeah.
Cracking. Well, good to speak to you. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Chaz. See you.
Cheers. And, Denise Pope there. Great to speak to you again. And someone that had a very, very exciting time and did a bit of lawn mowing as well at the end of the day. He was became a groundskeeper as well as a racing driver towards the end of that race. Seb Handler joins us in the chat. Seb, that was a very scary last few laps from just up here in the commentary box. How was it from where you were?
Eventful. Very eventful.
Well, it certainly looked like a great way to round out that race, though, because there were so many good battles going on, wasn't there?
Oh yeah, it was a good battle with Sheldon and the other guy in the Porsche. I don't remember the name. It was a good battle, but unfortunately I picked up a drive-through in like the second last lap. It was weird because I clearly lost time by going off track, so it was quite undeserved, but it is what it is. 4th place now, I think, so that's still pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to at least get something out of these races, and I think I might have cursed it a little bit by saying that you finished in second in both races so far, and you were going for another one. But the commentators can't be blamed for everything. Let me just say that. There's one more round of the championship left, though. That Ginetta seems like it's doing quite well for you and your teammate. Do you think that you could potentially get a win there with a bit of hard work?
Surely possible. The Ginetta should be well suited to Laguna Seca, but I might not be there for the next round. Possibly.
Oh no!
I'll have to see about it.
How come? Or is it? Well, it's not.
I might be going. I might be going to Hockenheim and have some fun with with some friends there.
Okay, fair play.
Yeah, I have to think about we still have to see if it's happening and stuff, but I might not be there next week.
Well, fingers crossed either way. You have a good time, Seb. If you're not there, mate, and obviously if you are there, then we'll see you and keep an eye on you in that wonderful Ginetta. Before we let you go, though, do you want to give a shout out to anybody?
Not really. I want to give a shout out to Sheldon and well, basically the two guys I raced. They did a good job. Sheldon did good defending. Bit hard, bit crazy, but it was good racing. So that was awesome. Had a good time.
Love it. Smashing stuff. Well, good to speak to you as always, Seb. Thank you very much, and well done for being so entertaining out on track in that Ginetta. And we may see you next week, we may not, but I'm sure we'll see you again in a SimGrid race very soon.
For sure. My pleasure.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye. And well, one final interview to round out the evening. Thea joins us in the chat, and she's actually here this time. I don't have to wait. Thank you. She's I'm joking. She's here to round up obviously how her race was, and we of course have a prize draw for a winner of a 3D Wrap Akina handbrake. But ahead of that, though, how was that race for you? Because it seemed like quite a lot of drivers were struggling out there on that circuit.
Yeah, to be honest, I've been taking quite a few events, let's say, in the previous race, but this race I was lucky enough to see it coming and avoid it. I did see a few things happening in my back mirror, and after that I somehow couldn't keep up the pace with Denise. There was a few times where I thought I could overtake her, and then I just decided that I was gonna try my best to catch up. So yeah, it was a good stint, a bit eventless for me. I was more interested to watch my co-driver, to be fair.
Well, sometimes it's nice to have those races where you can sit back a bit. You still get the job done when you're in the car, but you get a bit of entertainment when you're not driving as well. This race format, though, I mean, we obviously all know of the sort of 1 hour GT race with a driver swap. It's a very much loved format all over the world, and it works very well in this series because a lot of the teams have quite a pace difference between the two drivers, don't they? And obviously it's no sort of bad reflection on anybody, but it makes the racing more exciting, doesn't it? Because you have this sort of unpredictability when you try and chuck all of the sort of performance levels of every driver together, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I've done quite a few different type of racing, and I really enjoy when you've got just a short stint because it keeps it short and sweet and also super exciting. Yeah, I really enjoy that. But like you said, there's a lot of different level. A lot of girls have actually just picked up the game 3 weeks before, and they're now at my pace, so I really need to step up my game because I think the last race is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, it certainly will be. It's going to be a great way to round out the series. But we do have a 3D Wrap Akina handbrake to give away. Also, we must say as well, don't forget to follow the SimGrid on social media. You get to start your words again, Chaz. You get to vote for the overtake of the race and be entered in a draw to win the rig that's being given by V-Rig. And, well, Who wouldn't want that? All for the sake of following us on Instagram or on any of our social media channels. You can also check out the websites that Michael has put in the YouTube chat as the Sim Grid. But Thea, I'll leave it up to you to let everybody know who wins the Akina handbrake from 3D Wrap.
Okay, so I'm going to try to set the name correctly, and the winner is Jan Bierman from Dalston.
There you go,
Congratulations!
Jan Bierman, you have won yourself a 3D Wrap Akina handbrake, so make sure you get in touch and we can sort everything out so you get that fantastic piece of kit. And don't forget, you can also, if you also want to win some sim racing gear, you can follow the Sim Grid on our Instagram and other social media channels as well. But thank you very much, Thea. Good to speak to you as always, and I'm sure we'll speak to you at the final round as well, won't we?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, cool. Of course. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
Bye.
Well, another amazing evening done here on the Sim Grid, Connell, and Kyle, of course. We'll come to you in a second, Kyle. Just sum that race up for me in a few words, Connell, because that had a bit of everything, didn't it?
Oh, a few words wouldn't do it justice. If you've only just joined us, please do go back and watch that because that was phenomenal. Yeah, we've seen closer times each time we have got to a race in this series. 10 I said earlier, but I'll say it again. 10 seconds or 11 seconds, I think it was, from first to last in qualifying. In the first round, round 2, it was 7.8 or 7.6 or something to that effect, and then it was 6.4 in this one. So absolutely phenomenal progression from these ladies, doing a fantastic job and really a good facilitator of this series for learning. And yeah, in terms of this race, I mean, you only have to watch the Muscat, Taplin and Seb Handler battle just to understand what racing in the Sim Grid is all about. That was some phenomenal battling. But again, the Cake team just undaunted really throughout yet another race.
Yeah, that's it. They certainly have made their mark, I think it's safe to say. Kyle, just coming to you, mate. We always expect good things from this championship, and it's every single time we come back to it, it's just proving better and better, isn't it?
I'm starting to get the point with the Sim Grid that, I don't get surprised by much. I need to stop. I used to come into a race and expect, well, there's nothing that can surprise me now. And then I go and watch races like we saw between Handler and Rob Taplin, as well as Muscat, and we see that for 3-4 laps. The fact that they can run cars so close together without taking each other out. Then how quickly these ladies have developed throughout the series, obviously with the help of their co-drivers, and obviously the time spent in ACC to build up confidence as well as their lap times. I honestly didn't expect it. I didn't expect it to happen so fast and so exponentially. So, a couple of drivers have touched on it, that they need to just up the pace now because the pace is getting closer to them, and that's always what happens in a series, and what makes for some great racing is because you're only as fast as the fastest driver on the circuit. So everybody starts pushing harder and spending more time in the sim and more time on the track, getting more laps and more seat time and finding more pace. So it's going to happen again now in round 4 that we're going to see the same sort of racing and the same sort of close racing. And that's only going to allow for closer finishes, more intense racing, passes again into the final corner, and all of us running out of breath. I can see why we now need 3 of us talking about the race, because otherwise we'd all be out without voices after the hour.
We certainly would. And once again, everybody, as you've seen, the Sim Grid does what it does best and provides fantastic racing here in the More Female Races series. But thank you very much to Michael for his efforts in the background, getting everything flowing smoothly, giving us all of the information. Thank you to Connell Courtney and Kyle Lawrence for joining me on this broadcast once again. Apologies for having to jump off the cameras earlier. I'm not very well at the moment, so I do have to prioritise that, I'm afraid. But we got through. My name is Chaz Draycott. It's been an absolute pleasure, and you can catch us on Saturday for the next round of the Endurance Cup from the Nurburgring, and then a week today we'll be back for the final round of More Female Races, and then on the Thursday you can join us for the final round of the Sim Grid Pro Sprint Cup. So plenty coming your way. Make sure you subscribe and like as well, and we'll see you all very soon. Have a wonderful evening, guys.